And we're live. Hi, guys. Um, Welcome to another impromptu live stream with at least some of the Mad Queens. Our T Baby is not here with us, but we do have the Lord Commander AK here. We do have Nero from Nero Geek TV here. And of course, I'm your host, Lady D. So, we wanted to do like a stream to follow up on the tinfoil stream from last night. So, like, do you guys have any intro stuff that you want to do first? I'm horrible at hosting.
I just want to say what's up, and I'm happy to be here and see what other plans within plans Lady D is going to point out to us going on with this Grand Realm conspiracy here.
Yeah.
Hey everybody! I just want to go down rabbit holes. I'm ready. I think I'm ready today. I'm ready.
She says all she wants to do is go down rabbit holes, but she's gonna be trolling. That's the only reason she's here.
That is the only reason she's actually. Oh my gosh, that's the only. I set myself up. That's the only reason you're probably hit. God, T Baby's not here. Clearly, you're going to be in the chat talking about how Cat is Mother of the Year. Oh my gosh.
Look at her trying to look shocked.
No, because I didn't. I was like, oh my gosh, guys. Like, I want to do, like, let's go ahead. Like, I'm going to do some mom self-care time. Take time for me. Let's do something I want to do. Yay. And, like,
here Monero come. You know what, one of my favorite new memes that I've seen, it's usually captioned at the top, when somebody tells me don't come back over here with that bullshit. And it's like, you remember back in the day, Family Matters, Urkel, that little play walk that he used to do when he thought he was being smooth.
Yeah.
And like, this is me coming back in with that bullshit. That's Monero right now. Let's see, look at her trying to look surprised.
Yeah,
like what y'all talking about? No, see, look at there it is. There it is.
That's horrible. Well, today's stream is going to be about Stannis, right? So last night, if you joined us, you got a whole load of freaking tinfoil. I mean, like, we talked about a whole bunch of stuff. And honestly, for like the last week or two, we've been kind of popping with the tinfoil streams. Like, I'm proud of us. Like, way to come back, guys. Like, all around. Yes, it's 3:00 on a Saturday and Lady D is drinking wine. It's a wonderful Saturday.
So that's not a bad thing. I think I'm gonna go get an adult beverage myself. Please continue.
So, saying hey to everybody in the chat. Quick PSA: this is your daily reminder that Black Lives Matter, and let's get started with the theory. Of course, this is a little bit different of a format. Instead of Lady D having a bunch of slides and data points and all that, we're just going to talk through it. And I like this idea or this format because since it's live, you guys get to ask questions about the theory in real time. So when we stop for breaks, you ask your questions or ask them throughout that time. And of course, the admins will make sure to highlight them, put them in the chats, and we'll make sure to go through each one of them. So yeah, I hope you guys are all ready for a trip down the rabbit hole. Definitely, but a rabbit hole backed up with examples from the book. So let's get started. If you've joined me for any of my Grand Northern Ambitions series, you know that it's a whole lot of moving pieces, right? So part one, we went over Rob's will, which is really a declaration. We went over the movements in the north. We went over Alyssane Mormont's badassery, all of that. Then in the second part, we go over the Iron Bank. We kind of touched on that last night and the night before. Didn't really get all the way through it, but we got the bones of the theory out, right? And so now I want to touch on what I believe is Stannis' role in the Grand Northern Ambitions theory. I want to go through what it seems like his connection is to the north, to the movements and the suspicious things we see there. And I want to establish him beyond what we see in the text and what we think happened at Deepwood. So before we dive in, just a little primer on Stannis, right? In case you don't know, but you should because you're here, you're on the stream. You probably know. It would be ridiculous for you not to. Stannis is a seasoned battle commander that understands the importance of bodies in the field. Can we all agree on that? Like,
yes indeed. Yes, indeed.
Thank you. He understands that wildlings equal manpower, right? And with so few men to fight, he would have to see the wildlings as welcome help. No matter how many clansmen there are, an additional force of wildlings could only help him. That's that's true, no matter what.
Can I make a highlight on that point real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Not only just wildlings, but there are skin changers and wargs and giants riding giant ass mammoths now that are going to be in this man's army. Think about that. That's it.
So then let's call it like the wildling contingent or something like their whole like the wildling clique, the wildling crew. Like that includes all of their extra, like
All of the extra
all of
magic.
their extra
Yeah.
magic because they have all of the extra magic, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
why in the world, that brings up the question, why in the world would Stannis willingly kill this man because he's so useful, right? You can only help him. The drawback, of course, is that the wildlings, these same wildlings that are extra manpower, may be at odds with the clansmen, the umbers, and the other northern houses that he definitely needs. But Stannis, as the son of a maester, should be well read on his battle history, which would include their outcomes, treaties, and other war information, which means he recognizes that he need what he needs in order to establish a wildling slash northern peace, right? Now, this may seem like out of place information, but I need y'all to keep this in mind as we go over his behavior and everything, the ins and outs of this theory. Men and money win wars. And right now in the books, Stannis doesn't have either of those things. He doesn't. Therefore, in this first section, which is technically the fourth installment of the Grand Northern Ambitions theory, I put forth that one, Stannis knows that Mance is alive. Now, in the books, remember, Stannis isn't supposed to know that Mance is alive. Stannis is supposed to think he was burned at the stake and that's a rattle shirt. That is being, glamored, actually. But he's supposed to believe that's rattle shirt. And two, Stannis is now a part of the Grand Northern Ambitions theory, as I had said earlier. And he understands and accepts what his role is. And we'll get into what that role is, what Stannis actually wants, and what the deal is he actually cut with the North. So, do you guys have any questions?
I'm just eager to hear you continue. I like where all the pinpoints are. I think it's great. And I'm waiting to see how the tunnels that Lady D leaves us down to getting all this stuff together.
Okay, Nero, you good? Yeah,
all right. Over there trolling, probably.
Of course. All right. Let the troll go. She's gone. All right, let it go. I'm sure there's gonna be cat hashtags like I don't even want to look. Who knows? So let's
listen. I'm here to talk about Stannis and GNC stuff. I don't troll. I'm innocent. I'm gonna need y'all to stop telling people I'm a troll.
I mean, just
wasn't part of her argument last night was she just wants to come and have fun and troll.
I mean, was it not like the whole entire point of you being on the show? It was like, I'm going to troll now. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get on here and I'm going to hashtag me like Catelyn is like Catelyn greater than Beyonce. Like, it was just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You were ridiculous. Hold on, I need to put my charger.
Yeah. See, look, and there go again. You know what? Let's just continue down the rabbit holes. Okay, we've had our little detour.
Okay,
so let's go ahead. Stannis, please.
I'm so sorry, guys, but I have to grab my laptop charger. So what I want you guys to all try to keep in mind is that Stannis is definitely not supposed to know that Mance Rayder is alive, right? Which technically doesn't make any sense for him to kill, but it technically doesn't make any sense for him to kill Mance because Mance is so useful and he's going to need all of those wildling bodies. Why would you do something that's going to immediately turn them against you? So by now, I'm sure you guys have all watched these various videos and read posts about how Mance is alive and how Stannis knows that he's alive. But what I want to say is that I want to give you a few other points to consider for those of you that are still still doubting this, and then also because this is my version of the theory, and I can do that. That's the whole point of all of this. See, getting it perfect now, it's hard. Okay, so by now, okay, yeah. Thinking of Stannis, I want to give you a few other points to consider. In thinking of Stannis as a strategic, pensive, and decisive character he is and is established as, consider these facts and then determine for yourself if you were Stannis, what would you do? Stannis and his men have spent hours speaking to Mance and the other wildlings. Remember that. He knows that there's only one way to rally all of the wildlings together, including the ones that haven't arrived yet. And the way to do that is Mance Raider, right? Therefore, Mance is also extremely valuable to him and is essential to win the war. Let's consider a few of Mance's useful traits that would be of high value to Stannis at this point in the story where we are now, before he even makes it to the Crofters village. Let's take it all the way back to Stannis at Castle Black at the point of him needing to execute a Mance Raider. Let's think of the reasons why Mance is useful and he shouldn't do that. One, he's a smuggler of sorts, like Davos. So he's sneaking over walls, he's climbing in the windows like a Chester, and he can do things unnoticed, kind of like the way that Davos does with muted oars and black sails. And Stannis knows the usefulness of that. He learned the usefulness of that in Robert's Rebellion.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Go ahead.
It's slightly off topic, but because we're talking about Mance, it's on top. Do you think he was climbing up over the wall like they did every time? Or do you think he was making use of some of them tunnels or something such to get back and forth?
I think he was climbing over the wall, because if he had use of the tunnels, he wouldn't put his people in danger by climbing over the wall.
Okay, true enough. Okay.
So, and he knows the north, beyond and below the wall, both in custom and geography, to your point, right? He knows who the real enemy is, the White Walkers. He's an experienced battle commander. He's Westerosi born and therefore understands the societal norms of the place. He can literally hide in plain sight. Like, he's basically a freelance, faceless man, or Westerosi CIA. He's that good, technically. Like, he can play both sides. And he comes with a kingdom. 300 fighters currently, remember those in Molestown that don't eat, plus those in Tormund Giantsbane with Tormund, and the Weepers people are in question. But once they know that Mance is alive, it should fragment them. So I guess we can stop there. Any questions or anything?
No, I did want to point out, I don't know if they're going to come up along the way in the discussion, but a sidebar from Miriam Baratheon, new to the chats, actually just found your channel.
Hello, Miriam.
The question is, what do you think about the Ambers and Flints? Because they seem to have a branch in every camp.
The Umbers and the Flints, or the
did you mean? I'm assuming you meant the Umbers, Miriam. You could correct in the chat if I'm wrong, but yeah, the Umbers and the Flints.
So I actually get into that a little bit in the Grand Northern Ambitions Theory Part 1. Check it out on my channel, Miriam. But I actually map it back and forth and show that when you look at the Umbers' movements and when you look at the Flints' movements, like what they're actually doing versus what they're saying on paper. Remember, in Game of Thrones, we learned that war is definitely fought in a few ways. War is fought through proximity, so through marriage alliances. War is fought through the pen, through Raven. And war is fought through hand-to-hand combat or through violence, overthrow, all of those things, right? Through different mixes of that, we get the political upheaval and the religious upheaval through different, parts of that working at different times. And so when you look at the Flint and the Umber factions, you actually do gain a sense. Go take a look at that video, Grand Northern's Ambitions 1. You get the sense very clearly that they are playing the Boltons, and they're playing the Boltons hard. The Flints watch. You have to look at their sigils and whatnot too. You get some clues. The Flints watch, and the Umbers refuse to be chained. Remember that. You've got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. When you look at what's going on with the Umbers, they absolutely have no reason to be going along with anything that's happening in the north as far as resistance wise. But we know for a fact they have to be in touch with Wyman Manderley, because somehow Mance Rayder makes it from the Umbers to White Harbor. Remember, he wasn't going to White Harbor. He was going to the Umbers, and somehow he shows up with Manderley as a singer. So there is definitely a connection there. Additionally, the Umbers and the Manderleys are building ships. Remember that. They've been building ships for over a year. They've got hundreds now up the White Knife. They literally have a northern armada at this point. So they're doing things that are a little off. Additionally, the Flints have people who died at the Red Wedding, and what the Flints are doing, it is a little bit questionable. So I would say check out that video, so we don't have to, we don't need to rehash that one, but check out that video. And thank you for joining us today. So,
Yes,
Nara, got one? Yes, please.
I just have a question because maybe I missed it, so please forgive me. They first back when they had the battle and Stannis defeated the wildlings, and they decided, and they took Mance Rayder prisoner. I thought Stannis had agreed that Mance should be made an example of and be the one that would be executed. Now I know that they replaced Mance. I know that Melisandre did her glamour and on Rattleshirt, and Rattleshirt was the one that ended up being executed. But I'm not. Was it before Stannis left to go meet with the Mountain Clans on his way to go to Winterfell to liberate Winterfell, or was it after? Because I'm not clear on how him and Mance would have any discussion.
No, it was definitely before. He was there. As a matter of fact, Rattleshirt was in council with Stannis and everybody, his peeps, when they were discussing what was going on with Jon and whatnot. And Jon was like, "Yo, why are you trusting this dude? Like, I told you that Rattleshirt is like the worst. What's wrong with you?"
Okay, because I remember Jon telling Stannis that if he wanted their help, he would have to go to them and speak to them directly. He goes through this whole spiel about drinking their bread, eating their bread and salt, and praising their daughters because they haven't seen a king. Blah 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 blah. I don't want to rehash the whole dialogue. And then there's also the piece about Alicent. Is it Alicent Mormont? Is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
Please forgive me if I'm wrong. Alicent Mormont, because she was already coming to relieve Deepwood Mott, and so they kind of meet up there, because I don't think she knew that Stannis was. I don't know that she knows that Stannis was coming. I guess I should say, because he was surprised to find her, and I don't know from her perspective because she doesn't have a POV other than Asha. Asha is the POV in which we see Alicent Mormont and Davos. We get Davos's thoughts and views from Asha and from Jon. Jon through letters, Asha through, I don't know, conversation and seeing him. That's the only way we get to see Stannis's point of view with respect to what's going on in the north. So I was just wondering where, at what point they have had a conversation with respect to the wildlings, because as far as I know, the wildlings are still at the wall and being distributed through the castles, and the only people that he has with him are the Mountain Clan people, the soldiers that he bought, and I think he also sent out to get some sellswords, and there's Alice Mormont and her man. I guess that's where I was a little bit confused. Sorry.
So that's a couple of questions. So when he had time to speak to Mance as Rattleshirt is through the entire Dance with Dragons once he has defeated the wildlings. From that point, he has the entire time to speak to Mance Rayder. And then once they kill Mance Rayder, he has Rattleshirt in his war councils after being warned by Jon and presumably the rest of the wildlings that his entire force had been speaking to all of this time about Rattleshirt and his nature. Why would Stannis, an experienced battle commander, allow Rattleshirt as Rattleshirt, the real person, knowing who this treacherous person is, into his battle council and take battle camps and take counsel from him? Additionally, he has like somewhat of a place of honor in the tower, even though he's being watched. He's not in a cell. He's in an apartment, so to speak. He's eating food. He's well taken care of, and he has run about the castle. But this is Rattleshirt, who is completely dangerous. I don't think Stannis would do that, not knowing that that is actually Mance Rayder. Additionally, because of the value of Mance Rayder, the wildlings are not going to come together for Rattleshirt, but they will come together for Mance Rayder. And just like we see in Molestown, that 200 contingent of Thenns and other fighting men that we see who decide not to eat so that the children and the women can eat the paltry apples and onions that they had, those men are still ready to fight. Those are warriors. They are sacrificing themselves. And in the event that Mance Rayder had really been killed, they would have rose up and there would have been a problem at Castle Black. Instead, we start seeing all sorts of weird things like Val having absolutely no reaction to him dying and all sorts of other things that we can get through in this theory, where it pretty much shows like they're aware that this man isn't dead. And Stannis is no idiot. As the son of a maester, he knows that Mance is very valuable for a number of things, not just the appeasement of the wildlings either. So to answer your question, one, all of the time that he would have had to speak to Mance would have been at Castle Black after he defeated the wildlings. He had all of that time to speak to Mance until he left and went through the mountain clans. The wildlings are not with him. The wildlings are at Castle Black holding down Castle Black, because in case you forgot, there's a couple factions at Castle Black. You have those Black brothers who are okay with Jon being a commander. You have Black brothers who are not okay with Jon being being the Lord Commander. You have King's men that are on Stannis' side, most of which that went with Stannis, and you have Queen's men that are on Queen Selysa's side, which are fervent Lord of Light followers. You also have these wildling contingents that are sort of in between, because now they've been sworn to the Night's Watch. And so their allegiances are somewhat, you don't know there. So yeah, I guess that's how he would have gotten information about this. Did I answer it at all? Yeah.
Go ahead, Monero.
Yes, you did answer. You did answer. My now I guess I didn't catch that before. You said Stannis, son of a maester. Are you saying that Stannis is the son of a maester and not the son of Stefan and Stefan and I forgot his mother. I think she was an Escamot. You saying that that's not their son?
No, I think just that he was raised mainly by Maester Crescent.
Right, and because he was raised by a maester, it would be the equivalent of being raised by a professor of I don't know,
the equivalent of being raised by you.
No, what? Get out of here. The equivalent of being raised by like a professor of I don't know, like, you know, like quantum physics.
Stannis is a traitor. Stannis is a traitor though, because he let that dude die. He let Melisandre kill that dude.
What dude?
Crescent.
Oh yeah.
Crescent. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's also done a lot of things.
Crescent set himself up, though, in my opinion. He didn't have to do.
Listen, I understand that, but Stannis at any time could have stepped in and kept him from. He could have stepped in. I'm sorry.
I'm not a Stannis apologist, but what I will say is that if this man really does believe that he's the Lord of Light, like coming whatever Azor High, and it's him that has to save the world, then he's dead ass. Like, if you're getting in my way, I have to, like, I can't. Like, it is me against the impending doom. I have to do this or everybody's gonna die. So I'm not a Stannis apologist. Like, I'm not even like I love Stannis, but I gotta respect this man's gangster. I gotta respect this man.
I don't know how gangster you are if you're going around
That's
sleeping
true.
around with this woman and producing like shadow babies to kill people. You're not actually technically killing them yourself. You're sending out a shadow baby to do it, and then trying to claim like, well, I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
I was asleep.
Bruh, stand on your shit. You did it. I don't care if it was a shadow baby or not. You are directly complicit in those deaths. Don't try to say, "Oh, it wasn't me." But I don't want to upset any Stannis fans out there. You know, I'm just saying.
So, um, with all of those things, and I mean, Nero has some points about Stannis, but I mean, this is not about whether or not Stannis is good or bad. This is about his involvement in the GNA, his involvement in putting Jon on the throne. Because riddle me this, people, right? I'll just throw it out there. Why are the Ironborn with Stannis? Why are the Ironborn with Stannis? And
Weren't
then
they?
when Asha, well, go ahead.
They were captured, weren't they? Didn't he like capture Asha?
He captured Asha, but they should be okay. He captured Asha, but when he gets to he captured Asha and he takes Asha. He gets the rest of them too, by the way, because they're all there. But when he gets to the Crofters village, we see Asha. We don't see the rest of them fools. And the rest of those fools show up at the Crofters village when Theon does. Remember? So they're all still being held hostage at Deepwood Mott. And then Tycho Nestoris, who we talked about last night, if you follow the theory at all, or you subscribe to it a piece or whatnot, then you understand that, not understand, but that you feel us when we're saying that Tycho is a freaking faceless man. Like, there's no way. Listen, he's an expert equestrian. He's moving expeditiously. They send him in the 4th round of debt collection, which means they have written off the debt, and he is coming to collect. Like, he's doing a whole lot. So if you haven't checked that out, check that out, and we'll go back. But like, there's a lot going on with Stannis. I don't want to get too off the theory, but are there any more questions before I start the second thing?
No, I think we're good. Continue.
Okay. All right. So, knowing all these things that we know about Mance Rayder being so friggin' useful, that why in the world would Stannis, the emboldened battle commander, Stannis, the one-up smarty, Stannis, the person who is the son of a maester, so he understands every battle that has happened in history, its outcomes, its players, its treaties, all of that. He's like your favorite war nut. That's who Stannis actually is. Tell me, why would this man kill Mance Rayder? The answer is simple. I think he wouldn't. He's calculated, and he knows the secret is strength wins battles. And he literally just did this with Cotter Pike and the men from the Shadow Tower and Eastwatch by the Sea when he captured the Wildling Force. When he ran through the Wildling Force, they ran through, and then they were like, "Oh, we got a whole nother flank coming from Eastwatch. You didn't see that coming out the pocket, ha!" So, like, Stannis is fully aware that if you have secreted strength somewhere, you can use it to protect or to attack. And I think the reader should understand that whether it's hidden troops and fishing sloops that helped with Asha taking over those ships, or soldiers playing dead at mock feast tables like in the Riverlands, or resurrected wildling kings like we have with Mance, the element of surprise is always an advantage. And if that's not enough, please consider Mance as Rattleshirt's movements around the castle and involvement in the planning of the battle for the North. Jon literally tells Stannis that Rattleshirt cannot be trusted. Don't trust him. And is generally a horrible person. Yet Rattleshirt has free reign of the castle, Really, Stannis has no reason to keep Rattleshirt alive. He is of no use compared to Mance. And he has less of a reason to grant him lands. What use is he? I submit that Stannis knows that Mance is alive as Rattleshirt and is using him while at Castle Black to combine the two kingdoms of the North into one. So
that makes all of the sense, honestly.
Narrow Space is like, what?
Wait a minute, let me finish putting these synapses together.
Sorry. Okay. You're saying that Rattleshirt is actually posing as Mance Rayder, and it's not Mance Rayder?
Yeah. Have you not gotten to the last book? He's the
no. Okay, I read the books. Okay, I read it, and the way that I read it, the way it translates to me is Rattleshirt was the one that was killed. Mance is the one that's alive, and Mance is the one that Jon sends to Winterfell in order to get. I don't remember what the whole premise was. I think
that's right.
Go there with the spear wives and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's all true.
Okay, so that's Mance. That is Mance. That is not Rattleshirt.
Right. She's saying that the whole time that person that has free reign around the castle, that is Mance glamored.
Mance is glamored as Rattleshirt at Castle Black.
Yeah.
I guess I'm confused. Okay, Castle Black. Okay. Well, yeah, because when Jon went to go fight him, he knew that he wasn't right, and he said, "Listen, take that glamour off him." And then when he did, it said something about his bones shifting or something like that. I can't remember what the exact language said, but that his whole body structure started, shifting. I think he got shorter or taller. I can't remember what the language is. I just think body changed. Yeah, everything about him changed when he told him to take all that stuff off of him. When they told him, okay. Now I think I was just confused what you were saying.
Sorry. No, because if you're confused, other people can be confused too. So just no, it's fine. So yeah, it's Mance that is doing all of these things. But in Castle Black, Mance is right now. Well, Mance at the time was disguised as Rattleshirt. He was glamored as Rattleshirt. Now, so the question is, to repose it is, Stannis was told that Rattleshirt is heinous, he's horrible, all of these things, and yet Rattleshirt is in the war councils. Rattleshirt has now been given land by Stannis in the gift. Rattleshirt. He knows that this is not Rattleshirt. He's aware that it's Mance, just like Jon and just like Melisandre are. That's what I'm proposing as theory. So it's not that both of them are alive. No. One is they're glamored. They killed Rattleshirt. They used Rattleshirt, glamored him as Mance, and burnt that fool, and then glamored Mance as Rattleshirt to have him pretending around the castle and whatnot. Why? Because you need to save face. Stannis needs to save face. Stannis said that he was going to kill Mance Rayder so that he can make an example and all this other things, put down the rebellion, blah, blah, blah. So now he has to save face. But you know that you can't really kill Mance Rayder because of what it would mean to the wildlings. The wildlings don't care about any of this knee-kneeler crap. So if you're going to say that you killed Mance, fine, whatever, as long as he ain't really dead, which they know he's not, which explains why Val didn't freak out. Nobody freaked out. Everybody was fine. So, but let's go back to it. So one note on Val also, since we mentioned her just now, she stopped trying to kill her goalers, right? But equally damning on her is the participation in this wildling submission ceremony. She clearly accepted some sort of deal, right? Being a princess and eligible for marriage. She knows that this is what has been put on her during this ceremony, and she's silent. Val has been acting up this entire time. And at that wildling submission ceremony, go back and read it. She is standing up on that platform and she is having absolutely no type of anything. She's just like, oh, well, it's fine. Everybody just get submissive. This isn't weird at all. I didn't spend my entire life saying no kneeling. This is fine. I guess this is fine. Olaf. Like the girl is clearly she's doing something. Note that the wildling submission ceremony only happens after Mance's son is taken from the wall. After Mance's son is safe and on the way to Old Town with Sam and with Gilly, that's when the wildling submission ceremony takes place. I just want to line things up, right? And so it's a matter of northern succession that is broached with Jon, and it seems like Stannis is brokering a whole lot of deals, and one with the wildlings most definitely. Mance is like a lord now that he's bent the knee, and even though he doesn't wear a cloak, he still owns lands that his son will be able to inherit. A son who is as safe as he can be, as far south in Westeros, just about as you can get in Old Town. And so I think taking Mance's son away to safety was actually a part of Stannis' plan the whole time. And that Aemon Steel song is very much a Stannis hostage in ways. And his father knows that. He was switched, right? There's a quote in the book from Gilly about Rattleshirt and the Fens, about them getting lands and castles. This was all a part of this agreement, right? If you're making this agreement with Mance and then the Fens, why would you trust Stannis without Mance? No one's going to trust Stannis without Mance. So you're making this shirt with Rattleshirt, like, okay, right? With Rattleshirt, because Rattleshirt's who's getting all these lands. So you're making these deals with Rattleshirt and the Fens. And you're making sure that the boy is out of harm's way and switched with Gilly's son, which Rattleshirt would not give a shit about. But, yeah, let's make it seem like it was all Jon's idea. Yeah, he needed him gone. He knew they were going to switch anyway. And with men walking around wanting to burn the kid, leaving him at the wall with no one to defend him to go off on a mission for the North is just not something that any father would agree to. I just don't see it happening. So Stannis knows that if he wants the wildlings to marshal, he's going to need Mance to lead them. He knows that Mance is useful. He knows that Mance can hide in plain sight. And he knows that the element of surprise is what is most important. He also knows that when dealing with the Northmen, however, that he's going to have to appease them and try to heal some old wounds. And Jon can help him do this. And Jon does help him do this for a few times. From Stannis' view, they have fought the wildlings for thousands of years, but currently the wildlings are now, for better or worse, being integrated successfully as a part of the North. And this is mostly Stannis' doing. Remember the wildling submission ceremony. So additionally, if this theory is true, there's going to have to be a bunch of activities that are going to help heal some old wounds. The House Thenn Karstark marriage now, the Thenn Stark, I don't even know what you would call them now, the House Thenn Stark.
Yeah, because they're going to take over basically the Karstark lands, right? So like, do they keep the house name, or do they combine it something with like Thenn or, House? I don't even know what they would call themselves.
Well, remember. Sorry.
You okay?
It's okay.
No, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. Sorry. There's like a delay. I didn't hear you talking, and so I went to talk. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was done.
No, I was going to say Harrion Karstark is still alive. So technically, he's still the Karstark heir. And even though Alice is married to a Thenn, doesn't necessarily mean that they get the car hold as long as Harrion is alive. And remember, she said that to Jon. That's why they were trying to marry her to, I forgot his name.
Yeah.
The one that was in the ice tail. Mm-hmm. They were trying to marry her to him so she could produce an heir and then get rid of her. So they can have they can take over of the car hold, because they expect that Stannis is gonna not Stannis, that they expect that Tywin is gonna kill Harrion. So with Harrion gone, she in effect is the heir. What they don't realize is Harrion is still alive.
Jokes on them. Harriet is definitely still alive. And more than that, Alice was saying that her people would open the gates to her. So she's fully aware, like, y'all might be against me, but my people aren't. And when she rolls up with 200-300 thins, like, whoo, they opening the gates, bro. They're opening the gates, bro.
I mean, she coming in slinging a hell of a lot of muscle. I mean, take away the idea of the thins that you have from the show. They are not cannibals. They are actually probably the most quote unquote Southern type acting faction north of the wall. You know, they live in the what's known as probably the best part of land north of the wall. They there's bronze mines and whatnot. So a lot of their weapons are well crafted. They have armor, you know, proper armor, not just a bunch of furs and leather wrapped and strapped up together. So them coming, you know, and hooking up with House Karstark, honestly, that's probably one of the best houses they could have hooked up with, because House Karstark is wild and tumble like that. So that's really a really good freaking match for her and that Finn to get married, and then to go in, like B said, you know, kicking down the door. And she knows, like, yeah, the few people that have some power over her at that castle don't want her there. But the rest of them motherfuckers, the people that count, the numbers, the strength, all the fighting people, they're still for her and her pops. So it's a guaranteed win.
And so that was, I think, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Monero.
Oh, I think that's what was so key. I think that's how Jon played a real key role, right? Because he has a conversation with Alice because they know that Robb is the one that executed her dad. And she understands, right? Like, she's not holding a grudge, to the point where she agrees when Jon makes the match between her and Sigourney Fenn, right? Because if you look at where the Carhold is, it actually holds a really good strategic position in the north. Because in relation to where it is to the Dreadfort, which is, you know, Roose Bolton, like, to make it kind of short, Roose is going to be surrounded in everywhere. And they talk, I mean, yes, he has men, but he's essentially going to be in what you call, I don't know what I mean. He's going to be walled in, because when you have White Harbor coming in from the shoreline, then you have the Carhold, you have the people at Barrington, you have the Neck, you have, I mean, they're going to be walled in. And the people that are in, and I agree with Lady D, the people that are in Winterfell, they're just the kamikaze squad, right? They're there to be the kamikaze squad. They know they're not getting out alive. They're not getting out alive. So it's just for them. They're making that sacrifice for the, you know what I mean, for the greater good of making sure that the North goes back to the North, and that they once and for all get rid of Roose Bolton and the Freys. It's gonna be like a multi-pronged type of situation going on. And I believe that Roose Bolton also knows that he's on borrowed time. Like, say what you want. When you read Theon's chapters, when he's describing Roose, pay attention to how he describes how Roose looks, how he moves. He knows he's on borrowed time. And I'm just going to end with that.
I'm like in the chat. Sorry.
Now you good. Let's keep it rolling.
Um. So to your point about Ruth Bolton, like we could that's a whole nother stream. Like you want to start getting in the Ruth. Now that's a whole nother. You let me know when you ready to get into his weird. Like let me know when y'all are ready to start talking Ruth Bolton. Let me know when y'all start talking who wrote the pink letter. Like let me know when y'all are ready, and we'll get into that. My theory about it anyway. We're like, what and why?
Just a little tidbit, like what Monero was saying. Like this is the Dreadfort. You can see my mouse moving right here. Once the North starts moving against the Dreadfort, he's walled in. There is nowhere for him to go. I mean, he might be able to hide somewhere.
No,
he's not gonna. It's not gonna be a pretty ending in favor of him at all.
Yeah.
As B sings the gospel.
Yes, Lord. If I was you, I would say yes. Speak.
I also just want to make one more thing, and I just wanted to piggyback off of something that AK said. How they portrayed the Thens in the show, I think that was the show's weak attempt of trying to introduce what most people think of when they think of Skagos. And since they know they weren't going to put Skagosi into the story, they decide, and I think that was something the show did not do well, blending characters, because they bought characteristics of certain characters or group of people without any context at all. There was no reason for them to show the Thens as cannibals because it brought no context to the story as a whole. Because you were gonna kill those characters off anyway, so there was no reason to introduce that particular element other than for sensationalism. And then I'll just leave it at that.
I'm sorry, in the chat. See, it's happening again. Like maybe wave or something before you go out, because I'm reading. I'm like all in the okay. So getting back to what we were talking about. Yeah, if this theory holds true, we were talking about with Houston Karstark. The yeah, see, that's how I feel about dwelling. But if when we get back to talking about Houston Karstark, John does a King of the North moment, right, by marrying the Thens and the Karstarks. Like that is the North and the true North being married, right? And we look at John and we're like, oh, great, good job, John. That's a real King of the North thing to do. But what we're not realizing that is that this is exactly what Stannis is trying to do with the marriage of Val and John, right? And so he is able to do this. Stannis is able to accomplish this goal through John's actions, right? So I just want to remind you guys what we were talking about. If our theory, what we were talking about earlier, holds true with Stannis knowing that Mance is alive, right, and understanding that he has to unify the entire North. If this theory is true, then these other activities would have to be him having House then Karstark, him also having hostages at the wall. Remember, we know that wars that are fought in Westeros often end with marriages and hostages.
Facts.
Facts. King Jon Snow has taken wards like the Kings of Winter at Castle Black. Now, granted, they're working for Castle Black and all that. Yeah, we gotta fight and da da da. But these are wards. You're taking these boys. You're taking these sons and even little girls. That kind of happened, right? But you're taking these sons. Remember Tormund's reaction to like, yo, I'm like I'm giving him a war. Like you're taking sons away from the true North. It's more like safety for fealty, right? Like we see over and over and over again. And then there's hundreds of refugees, some probably even in service, like Ocean was in Winterfell, that would be spread out all over the North. she could not have been the only one. So yeah, I've been gone so long I did get sucked into the chat, so it's true. That's true. This is true. So yes, Naro.
I just wanted to also piggyback off of something that you said earlier with respect to Stannis. Everybody understand that Stannis is a tactician, and he is not somebody who quickly and readily kills people off until he can gain intelligence, because that's how he operates. He requires intelligence in order to be able to know how he's going to strategize to do anything. And he listens to both sides. Yes, he can be unyielding, but he is also open to hearing both sides. The only thing that he's unyielding about is that he is a little bit righteous, which boggles my mind. He's just like a walking oxymoron in that regard, but that's neither here nor there. But he is a tactician, just by nature. He is a tactician. If you are going to gain him an advantage, there is no reason for him to get rid of you. He'll probably get rid of you when you no longer serve purpose for him.
Right. And Mance Rayder, not being some ignorant savage, Mance Rayder struck a deal. So the final thing that we would need to see, right, these activities to help heal these old wounds, I think, would be a royal marriage to unify the entire North. I'm just going to leave that one out there, and we may get to cover it or we may not this time because I see it's 4:05 and I definitely want to end before Radio Westeros gets on. But Mance is like a lord that has bent the knee. Remember, he will wear no cloak, but he will hold lands that his son can inherit. Again, I think Mance's son was definitely a part of Stannis' plan the whole time. Aemon Steelsong is very much a Stannis hostage, and his father knows that he was switched.
Yep.
And it's all a part of the bargain. So my second point is that Stannis is now a part of the GNA, the Grand Northern Ambitions theory, and understands and accepts that he is not the king in the North. Now, before we go through this point, I'm just going to throw something out here. Riddle me this. If Stannis is the only king in the North, who did Stannis pay for the ironborn? Did anybody else catch that?
Explain yourself.
Explain yourself, Lady D. If Stan,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Nero. Go ahead, Nero. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear your question, so I'm just reading it right now. Sorry. Well, Stannis doesn't consider. Well, I'm sorry. Are you saying the only king in the North, meaning that he considers himself king in the North only, or are you saying king of the seven kingdoms who happens to be in the North?
He would consider himself king of the seven kingdoms. So in the North, he's still king. Like whether I'm in Korea or Kentucky, if I'm Jay-Z, I'm still Jay-Z. Like, you know, like I'm the king. It is what it is. So if you are the king, who did Sybil Locke Glover, accept a ransom on behalf of?
That's right, because she did ransom some of her men from. Didn't she ransom some of her men from the Ironborn and then sent men to Stannis?
Hey, beat real quick. The tag is covering up Monero's face.
Oh.
It's okay. I'm not that important. The person was more important. I do remember that she did ransom some of her men, but she also did send some men to Stannis, and the only people that were holding that I believe she was under Ironborn. The Ironborn were the one that had invaded a Deepwood Mott. Wait a minute. there were there was some Flintmen that went to go and try and capture, um uh try to go ahead and try to capture the Ironborn, but she got like advanced knowledge and tried to escape and ran into those Flintmen. And then while she was
What?
trying to escape, that's when Stannis and them like caught her, right?
No, that is not in the book. I love you, but that is not in the book. She did not try to escape. The Flintmen came over the wall. She already knew that they were coming, yes, but the evidence that I have for her knowing that they're coming is in that first GNA video, and it's because she keeps going to the Godswood to pray. Asha allows Sybil Glover to have full reign in the castle and to go to the Godswood and pray. But Sybil Glover, by her before she was married, was a lock. She's literally a clansman. So you send this woman in the woods to pray, and she can do whatever. People can sneak up. She can talk to them. She can just pull some straight up Sansa stuff. How Sansa was in King's Landing. If Sansa could do that in King's Landing, you don't think Sybil Glover could do that in a fully wooded area? So I think that's how she got advanced knowledge. That and the fact that Asha's super behind also wasn't controlling the Maester. So the Maester was free to send ravens back and forth. Remember the message that he brought to Asha? She didn't even know that it got there. She didn't even kill the ravens. Like, she was like, yeah, I got the castle now. Continue about your lives. I don't know what's wrong with that child.
Yeah, that she would be a good ruler in on Pike. But as far as Westerosi politics, even just northern politics, yeah, Asha, I like you, but I need you to sit down.
Yeah. And so, as far as her Sybil ransoming her own men, she didn't. She didn't ransom any of her men because her men were there at Deepwood, right? Those that were with her, and she got rescued by the Alisane, Mormont, and Stannis and Mountain Clans coalition. So she did not ransom any of her men. What we did read in the book is that there were ironborn that she had, and she accepted the quote from, I want to say, the world's most decent ironborn, Christopher Botley, was she was paid a handsome ransom on behalf of the king. She accepted a handsome ransom on behalf of the king. So that means that she accepted and you know what, I might try to find this. I don't know, AK, if you could help me out, but it might be in a search of Ice and Fire. But
what is it you're looking for?
She accepted a handsome ransom.
Okay.
On behalf of the king.
All right. Did you see what Thunderclap's comment was?
No, please.
I put it in the private chat.
Oh, aha, yes. And that was actually what I was getting to. Thunderclap. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. Stannis captured the Ironborn, but no, he didn't sell them to Tycho. Think about it. He has Asha with him at the Crofters village, and then the Ironborn show up later from Deepwood Mont. And Christopher Botley tells Asha that the reason that they've been freed is that they came to fight on behalf of the North, and that Sybil had accepted a handsome ransom on behalf of the king. So that means that someone paid Sybil for the Ironborn to have them brought there, and she accepted that money on behalf of the king. So my question is, who is this king? Who bought the Ironborn? Because it wasn't Stannis. Remember, he's broke, and he hadn't reached a deal yet with the Iron Bank because Tycho Nestoris is just now showing up at the Crofters village at that point. So who bought the Ironborn? The Northerners at Winterfell sure as hell didn't, and I'm sure they'd love to kill Theon. They didn't buy him. Who bought the Ironborn? It wasn't the Northerners at the camp, or they would have brought Theon and those straight to them, and they didn't. Who bought the Ironborn? It would have had to have been someone that Sybil Glover trusted enough that she would be willing to let go of the only bargaining chip she still had to assure the safety of her children. Remember, The Ironborn have Sybil Locke's kids on the Iron Islands. Asha took them there and was like, not going to bring the baby girl back, not going to bring them back because the ship ride will be too tough. So Sybil's kids are in the Iron Islands. Whoever she sold the Ironborn to has to be somebody that she trusts enough that she's willing to give up the leverage to her baby. So I just want to throw that out there. Any thoughts? Too much tinfoil? Yes. Too much foil. Dang. Even my girls clapped out on me.
No, it's never too much tinfoil. I found that there's so much to scroll through when searching for specific things, but I found just that one little quote from Theon 1 in The Winds of Winter. And it's the Iron Men are to remain here, supposedly to fight for us. Another gift from Tycho Nestorius. So Tycho's involved, but he's not the one that is owning those at the moment.
Tycho paid Sybil, and Sybil accepted that money on behalf of the king. But if Stannis is the king in all 7 kingdoms and is supposed to be the king of the north, that would be like Stannis. That would be like Tycho paying himself, since he's about to loan Stannis money. Do you see what I'm saying?
Thunderclap found the part there also. What is it? Trish Rosen brushed the snow from his knees. Sybil Glover was offered a handsome ransom for our freedom and chose to accept it in the name of the king. Yeah.
There you go. She accepted it in the name of the king. That means that someone paid her and she accepted it in the name of the king. But what king? Because if it was King Stannis, he would be paying himself because he's about to take a loan out from the Iron Bank. And he's not paying himself. He could say, I'm your king, Sybil Locke Glover. Give me those Ironborn. And she'd have to say, okay, King Stannis, I respect you as my king, so I'm going to do that. But she did.
Like most of the North, she's like, nah.
She made him pay. And not only did she make him pay, but that phrase, she accepted and chose to accept it in the name of the king. That means that there's another king that she's accepting this money on behalf of. Any questions? Anybody? Y'all just think? Do y'all think I'm crazy? Let me know, guys. You guys think I'm crazy?
No, the puzzle pieces are all fitting together. It's just a really large damn puzzle to put together.
It is.
I'm here for all of it, though. I'm here for all of it. I've missed these discussions.
Oh, thank you, AK. So, now, Nero, you got any questions? You got the good questions to like rip it up so that we can like justify stuff.
No.
Hell no. Okay.
She go, nah.
She's like, no. So remember, Sybil Locke Glover's kids are on those Iron Islands. Those Ironborn were her only leverage to ensure the safety of her kids. She has Tritopher Botley, who is an Ironborn heir. Let's remember that. Like, she has leverage. Keep our kids safe. But instead, she sells them on behalf of one king to another. So, I mean, check out GNA Part 1 to figure out who that one king is to another. But more on Stannis accepting his role that he's not king in the north, right? He accepted that and understands that Sybil wasn't going to give him those hostages. Remember, he helped and he took Asha, but for whatever reason, Sybil was like, well, you're not taking the rest of them, bro. Not till you come up with some bread or something like that. Or somebody told him, not till you come up with some bread or something like that. And that's not how you treat a king. So they clearly are not viewing Stannis as a king in the north. And Stannis obviously is okay with that because he's not fighting them. He's just trying to unify the north. So before we get started on this, also, Stannis is not king of the wildlings, Mance is. And Mance's sister-in-law becoming recognized as a princess only further cements the wildlings to the north, right? Through what Stannis sees as a custom. Like, it's not really doing anything for the wildlings, but it's making the wildlings further entrenched in like the customs and value of the North. And through marriage, when she marries the Lord of Winterfell, eventually, it is important that Val marries the ruler of the North. And because her status as a princess is now cemented, and the fact that it comes with so many problems, and the fact that she comes with so many people, the wildlings are effectively recognized as a kingdom almost immediately. So, y'all feeling that? Does that make sense? She's a princess now. She's got thousands of people. She's got fighting men. She's got resources. And technically, they've given up all of their wealth to Westeros. She is, in fact, representative of a kingdom. Yeah. And so, as this kingdom representative, as a royal in bloodline, Val would need a fitting match. So let's think about that. And that's where the plans for Jon come in, or his plans for Jon come in. In the end, Stannis wants to win. I think that's really the point there, right? Stannis wins. But before we get too deep, let's define what winning is for Stannis. I think that,
I'm sorry. You had your hand up for a second just now?
Sorry, good, because I'm reading the thing. So thank you. Go ahead, Nero. I'll mute.
Okay. All right. So I'm following you with the point about Val and her being called a princess by Southern traditions to kind of scheme of things. I get that. But so Mance Raider, not Mance Raider, sorry. Slow down. There's also Tormund, who happens to be kind of like a de facto leader, because that is who Jon is entreating with in the absence of Mance Raider. Not really Val. Like, he talks to Val, they have conversations, they have exchanges, which I need to go back and reread and get to really understand better. But when it comes to what's happening with the wildlings with respect to where they're going, how they're positioned, who's going where, and who's who, Jon mostly has that exchange with Tormund, which to me it seems like Tormund would be like the de facto leader of the wildlings in the absence of Mance, not discounting Val, but Val was of no relation to Mance, other than, I mean, they're not that I'm aware of, unless I missed something. So I know who she is, and what her relation to Mance was, but it wasn't like they were some sort. They were like siblings or blood related, where there's a passage of, I don't know. I know what I want to say, but the words are not coming out right. So please forgive me. But they're not blood related, where it would go in some sort of a succession, where if I'm not here, you take over. Because the wildlings don't follow a patriarchal rule. They go by whoever is the strongest. But at the same time, when they're talking about the logistical and and positional affairs with respect to what's going to happen with the wildlings, Jon has that conversation more so with Tormund than he does with Val. From my recollection, most of Jon's conversation with respect to Val has to do more so with I guess now that I say that out loud, I have to change that, because they talk more politics, because Val talks to him more on a political level, right? They have more of a political exchange, meaning position, what's going on, position, what's happening as far as with respect to Stannis, Selyse, and the men, and what's going on with the Wallings in that regard. But I don't know. Maybe I was just talking out loud, and maybe talking out loud is just making me confuse myself more in trying to relate to what it is that you're trying to say. And maybe the point is just not sticking enough for me to kind of make it make sense to me, because I'm just going back to what I've read and how the exchanges that I see that John makes. And it seems that I don't know. Let me stop talking, because I think I'm probably going to confuse the situation more than it already is. Oh, well, I'm going to confuse myself more than I
I think that no, it's good you have questions, so it's good because other people can have questions. So the thing is about Val and John, like for the purpose of this theory, their conversations really don't matter because it's about what Stannis is doing to integrate the northern north into the north. So regardless of what the conversations are with John, Stannis has labeled Val a princess. And by labeling her a princess, you have now given legitimacy to the wildling kingdom because she has all of these people that are from so many different cultures and whatever else. So Val comes with a kingdom of people, which legitimizes her as a princess. And that's really what that point was for. As far as the
It's because
as her
she's his
being
sister-in-law, isn't it?
yes, she is Mance
She's
Raider's
his
sister-in-law.
sister-in-law. So that's the, royalty offset to how Stannis is trying to make it, I think.
Yes. And
okay,
additionally
that makes
during
more
the
sense to that makes more sense to me. Now, okay, now I have context. I think that's what was missing for me. I didn't have context. Um, I wasn't thinking of it in relation to your theory. I was just thinking of it as in the grand scheme of all. But now I have context, so okay, now that makes sense.
so it's not really about who the wildlings are follow because you'll see they're not about to follow. They're not following Val, but for the purposes of politics, for the politics of bringing the North together. Remember, Stannis is the son of a Maester, so he would have read about the conquest of the northern territories by the First Men and what had to happen. He would have known about the Ward King and the marriages. He would have known about the marriages inter houses in order to hold down the North. He would have known about the tribes that went for like he knows all these things because he's a Maester's son, and so um I guess what I'm trying to say is when you look at that platform at the Wildling submission ceremony, on that platform is a representative for the Lord of Light, which is supposed to be the dominant religion in Westeros now because Stannis says so if he's king. You have a representative of the Iron Throne, which would be Stannis Baratheon, and you have a representative of what I'm going to call the Werewood and Ice Throne, which would be the Wildlings,
It's a
right?
parlay.
It's a parlay, right? Like, so when they're doing the Wildling submission ceremony, he has all three of them are on that platform, and all three of them are at the same level on that platform. It's not like a first, second, third thing. They're all on the same level. So when Stannis, because he's a brilliant mind, when Stannis has his people walk through the gates and throw their possessions and whatnot and give fealty, right, and submission, the wildlings, he is fully aware because he's the son of the maester that the wildlings are all about choice, about choosing, about not just taking the knee, not about false choices, about actually like this is what I want to do. So if you give them three choices on a platform and they know they have to bow to somebody, who did all of the wildlings just swear submission to? They're gonna swear it to Val. They didn't actually bow to Stannis or to freaking the Lord of Light. You just burnt the werewoods. What's wrong with you? We hate you, lady. And Stannis, what? So if in the event that he wanted to solidify the kingdom, he did it in that one fell swoop by having her on that platform. He raised Val officially to the status of princess. He legitimized the kingdom by coalescing the people to one cause by having them there at that submission ceremony and bowing to Val, because obviously that's the choice. And he's making her available for mayor so that he can integrate her and thus her people into the North completely. So it's about 4:30 now. I think we can just stop, I guess, and we can. Oh, go ahead.
Wasn't he? Was it him or was it? I think it was. Wasn't they trying to marry her off to Sir Patrick?
Yeah, I mean they're all trying to marry her off because Stannis was trying to marry her to John, and whatever else was threatening to marry her to somebody else, and then Selyse was trying to marry her to one of her peon people. Well, not peons, but
Also, pretty much
got bad because he like wall paint now.
I mean, yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. But pretty much like every dude that has any type of status that's in that area and has seen Val all want Val. That's one of the things that makes her so valuable.
Indeed. So, I mean, I don't want to. It's almost 4:30. Do you guys want to just keep going until 5, or do you just want to quit? We can just start.
I think we can probably go like another 10, 15 minutes, and then it gives everybody time to go, potty breaks, get snacks or whatever, and be ready just in time for Radio Westeros's stream at 5. Thunderclap has another good question. I think it's meant to be a bit of a funny question, but I like it. Did Creston and Mr. Aemon both go to Maester school together?
I don't think so, because Creston was a young man when.
Older.
Yeah, Aemon is very old. Creston was a young man when, or younger, like what he's talking about or whatever, when Stannis' parents died. Aemon would have already been at the wall, old and possibly blind. No, yeah, he would definitely have been blind, because he was blind during the reign of Aerys. He went blind, so he would have been blind.
Creston probably went to school with Pycelle, either Pycelle or because I think he's older than Lewin, but he probably might be around Pycelle's age.
Now, yeah, Aemon is older, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, Aemon has to be older than Creston during this one.
Yeah, he might have gone to school with Pycelle.
Pycelle might be in the same age range. Yeah. He's not as
right.
as Aemon, but he's definitely closer in age than Creston is.
Yeah, because Aemon is very, very old, guys. So what we were talking about, sorry, ADD like a mug. Again, I do that. I'm like, yeah.
That happens. We always go off on tangents.
But what is winning to Stannis? He knows and believes the tales of attacks from the undead beyond the wall, and we can assume this comfortably as his behavior shows that his focus has shifted from being king of Westeros. I think winning to Stannis is now uniting the North and ultimately the realm to survive the real enemy. Davos had a quote in John 11, A Storm of Swords, chapter 76. If someone could pull that, that'd be great. If not, that's fine. That's what live is all about. I'll fix that next time.
It was Storm of Swords, what?
John 11, A Storm of Swords, chapter 76. But there's a quote where Davos is talking about saving the realm or winning the throne, right? Saving the realm, win the throne. It's a very simple strategy, and it makes absolute sense. Save the realm, win the throne. And the way to save the realm at this point is to unify the North, because if you don't unify the North, you're not going to have anybody there to fight the White Walkers and what's coming. Okay, I'm trying to get this. There you go. All right. That's at the bottom. So he spends hours talking to Mance in the books, guys remember, and he spends hours interrogating wildlings. And there is one point when we're shown the food hall or whatever where they sit down to eat, right? And we notice that the wildlings are sort of talking to all of the Kingsmen, and the Kingsmen are going back and forth. And on first glance, it looks like it's a completely normal time, right? Everybody's just eating and hanging out and trying to be warm. But when you reread those chapters again in the Storm of Swords and in Dance of Dragons, you'll start to see like, hold on, wait a minute. Like, why are y'all also buddy? Why y'all over here in little dark corners whispering in small groups and stuff like that? Like, what's going on? So after he spends hours talking to Mance and interrogating the wildlings with Melisandre, and his men are quietly speaking to the Rangers and the wildlings, These men who would have firsthand knowledge of the enemy, by the way, also note that I said his men, not the king's men. They can be trusted, it seems, but we'll get into all of that a little bit later. In order to win, he needs to save the realm. And in order to save the realm, he needs a PR campaign. To the outside world, Stannis must appear as a perfect king. Specifically, I think that Stannis means to portray to Westerosi born that he is a man of laws. He pretends to burn Mance at the stake to save face, an execution method that placates the queen's men, right, by burning because they're all the Lord of Light, and also help him save face with, everyone else who believes that they should be dead. Which I would say, and I would think that the Queensmen actually make up a very large portion of his host. And the Kingsmen and the Night's Watchmen are appeased because they are tired of the wildlings and the ratings and whatnot. Well, some of them are. And the wildlings that are kneeling are not too happy that Mance has been executed, but who cares about them? I just did a submission ceremony where they now have Val as a figurehead and they're safe. So to the Westerosi, he's just a king, and he allows the wildlings through the wall as refugees, while also allowing them to retain some of their freedoms. So to the wildlings, he is somewhat of a liberator, although just a king to the Westerosi. Stannis has no expectation that these people will kneel or switch gods. He knows this. Jon told them that they are not kneelers. Jon told them that they're not going to switch gods. I don't know if you guys remember that. But him being raised by a maester, he should also understand that the very hard-held cultural traditions and beliefs that these people have, and that they're going to die very hard. So I'm going to stop there and ask for questions because I don't want to just talking. Nothing.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
But I was gonna just stop and wait for questions because I didn't want to.
I'm not finding that specific quote you were asking about.
That's okay. I'll find it at some point, and then you know what? Next time I'll do better, and I'll pull up the quotes beforehand. That's bad. But however,
well, there's some questions in the chat. There's some questions in the chat. One is by Vanessa. I'm sorry, I'm about to say Vanity. Vanessa Amnesty asks, how will Stannis die? I doubt Jon is going to be named king before Stannis dies.
I don't know how he's gonna die. I have no evidence. So I don't know. Vanessa thinks that he's gonna die by burning, that he's implied himself. Tell us more. What do you guys think? How do you think that Stannis is gonna die? I am kind of in the camp that I don't think, however Stannis is gonna die, I think it'll be in battle, and a part of me doesn't think that he'll stay dead. So whatever.
I don't think the Battle of Ice that's coming, once they actually finally go after to take Winterfell from the Boltons, I don't think Stannis is going to die there. Pretty much every big thing that you saw Jon do around the Battle of the Bastards, that's going to be Stannis' job in the books. So I don't see Stannis dying anytime soon. And what will be said, if he does, it's going to be in battle. And there's probably going to be some extracurricular magics going on. And there's a resurrection that's probably going to be in his future.
I don't see him. I think Stannis is probably going to die in a most unassuming and most unexpected way. Because I think the story sets him up to be this great battle general, but then also know that there's still much left unresolved with Stannis, and he is a man, like I think you said this before, Lady B. He is like a all or nothing type of dude. Like he is like a by any means necessary kind of guy. So even if he were to win the Battle of Ice, there's still a lot more left that he's gonna feel like he needs to do before he can leave the North. because his expectation is going to be, if I win this battle and I return the North back to the Starks, I'm going to expect that all of these people are going to come and follow me south to help me to win the Iron Throne. And I don't think that's going to happen. And he is going to be stuck in a rock and a hard place. And remember, Melisandre, her only motive in getting in agreeing for Stannis to go north is to fight the others. She technically, I don't think she gives two rats about the Iron Throne. But in her mind, she believes that Stannis is Azor Ahai. And so she pretty much is, putting all her eggs in that basket. And the fact that she has him north, that is her main purpose. She only used the fact of getting him to win his throne as a way of saying, I'm going to help you in order to help you to do that. But you need to fight the greater enemy. And so there's that piece. So I think Stannis' story is going to lead him down a path that is probably going to be unexpected. And I don't think that it's on a battlefield. That's not where his true test is going to be, because we already know he's a great battle tactician. We already know that. So the fact that he's probably going to win the Battle of Ice, that is not up for debate. The battle that he really needs to fight is how can he collectively get these Northmen to rally behind him to go and win the Iron Throne in the South? And the majority of the Northmen don't give a fuck about that. They're just looking to secure their kingdom, and they'll use Stannis to do it.
And I don't know that Stannis really believes in the Iron Throne so much as I think it's something that he's using to power himself to keep going. But he's fully aware that the fight is there in the North. He's fully aware that if he does not unify the North and get them together to fight. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I didn't even realize you were still talking. I think it was a lag. Go ahead.
He's fully aware. Like he told Davos that he knows he's gonna die. Like he's seen his death in the flames. I think that's what he says, if I'm not mistaken. So he knows he's gonna die, but he still will die in the attempt of trying to secure what he considers to be his, because he feels that it's his duty.
Yeah. To do so. But he also and I'm do better with these quotes. Him and Davos sit in that room and it's like, listen, in order to win the Iron Throne, we have to save the kingdom. And the only way to save the kingdom is to go north because of what's going on up there. And so they go up there. And now we see him at the Crofters village, right? Knowing that he's going to die at some point, maybe not exactly when, but knowing that he's going to die, and telling the Knight of Moss, here's a blank check, basically go to Essos, get 20,000 swords that I know do not exist because everybody's contracted right now. Get a gang of money from the Iron Bank, and if I'm dead, which I probably will be, or you'll be told that I'm dead when you get back, put my girl on the throne. He's not saying, oh, invade King's Landing, do this, and this, gather such and such, do this, let's go and take it. Nah, he's like, bring these fools back up here, bring these 20,000 swords back up here, do what we need to do, and then go down there and seat my daughter. So I think he's aware, like, in order for me to sit the Iron Throne, he might want it. He's not going to be able to do that unless he saves the North, because saving the North saves the kingdom.
And he absolutely has to follow that path because he doesn't have anything to fall back on anymore. So you remember in Robert's Rebellion, Robert's main thing was, we can't afford to lose our family seat. If this shit goes south, we got to fall back somewhere. Storm's End is gone. Fagon's got that.
Yeah.
Stone sits empty at the moment, but Dany's on her way. So that's not going to be, a fallback spot at all. He really doesn't have anything else to do to get to his goals, but to do this one thing. And Sydney in the chat had a question. You know, she was asking about Stannis maybe going to rescue wildlings at Hardhome. Hardhome is already taken over, if I remember correctly, because John got that letter. That was the, you know, there are dead things in the water.
In the water.
Someone he had sent to Hardhome to try to rescue the wildlings there, and they're already all wiped out. They're part of the army of the dead right now. So going to Hardhome's not an option.
Yeah, he was going to do a ranging there, but I think the only reason why he was going to do a ranging to see if there were any survivors, so that I don't. But he got sidetracked when he got the pink letter and decided to change that.
Yes and no, because technically he did send Tycho ships. He sent Tycho ships to Hardhome, y'all. Tycho allowed him, and that's another question. Blank check and 3 ships. Really, Tycho? Really? It's your only way back to Bravos. Really? You're gonna give him all the ships to go to Hardhome?
I mean, well, if the theory is correct,
really?
If the theory is correct, that ain't Taco's only way to get anywhere.
Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, like, there's another weird thing for y'all, right? Why would you give the Night's Watch money in the first place? And if you're going to give them money, why would you give them your ships, knowing that they'll probably get wrecked because the ships that they just sent there got wrecked because of the storm? Winter is coming. You don't absorb risk. You're a bank. You're a banker. You hate risk. Risk makes your head hurt.
That's because this ain't, you know, it's the Iron Bank, yeah, but it's a section of the Iron Bank that can afford to go over and do those things. So yeah, the mystery gets deeper. You know, as many questions as we think we could answer and how many puzzle pieces we can make fit together, the bigger picture is still unclear. There's still so much to go through. So this is just a great freaking story. And damn it, George, we need the next book, please, sir.
Don't rush that dude, man. Let him.
I'm just saying. I just the need is there. Is all I'm saying.
He probably
a good story.
I think he's gonna have a lot of notes. I think he's gonna have like I don't know if he's a notes guy. I don't know if he's like J.R.R. It's funny. J.R.R. George R.R. I don't know. Is that a coincidence?
Did y'all ever watch Epic Rap Battles of History?
No.
They actually did a segment of Tolkien rap battling George R.R. Martin.
Oh Lord.
And it was hilarious. And like one of the lines that Tolkien said was, "Bro, you even stole my RR." Y'all go check out Epic Rap Battles. There's some
I did see it. Yeah,
they had Caesar going up against Shaka Zulu, Gandalf versus what's his name from Harry Potter? Dumbledore.
Dumbledore, yeah.
Dumbledore. They had Snoop Dogg playing Moses battling against Santa Claus. The shit is hilarious, is all I'm saying. Just go watch Epic Rap Battles. You'll get some good chuckles. Oh, and there you go. DA got the link up there for Tolkien versus George R. R. Martin. Y'all go check that.
Hilarious.
It's like
right. It is like 10 to 5 ladies.
Yeah. So I'm not going to keep holding it. It's
going to be going on soon, guys. I hope y'all go over and check them out. Yeah. That's all the plugs I got. Again, R.I.P. Joe, Abby's husband, y'all. We got the links were shared yesterday. If you can spread them around even more around the realm, so we can try to get Abby some help for her and the kids.
I'll copy them in here too.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And shout out to Lauren's sister. Lauren has a lovely baby nephew named Jace that just came into the world early this morning. So kudos to that.
Okay. So, I mean, we'll go. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll follow this random live stream up with another one so that we can finish the theory one of these days. Drop your questions in the comments, and thanks so much.
Yep. See you guys.
Bye, guys.